Alrighty. This is Salt City Counseling. My name's Scott. I'm a licensed therapist here in the beautiful state of Utah. If it looks like I'm a little stiff, I am. I woke up. You ever wake up and man, getting older, man, it's rough. So I can't really turn my head like Batman. Like seriously, how does Batman fight so well if he can't turn his head? This is my next installment of Healing the Masculine. I'm creating this playlist to address issues having to deal with men and addressing our crisis of masculinity. And I think it's really no secret that men are failing, and men are in crisis. Males are in crisis. Sometimes we're told that we don't actually have problems, and clearly we do. It's bizarre. I don't understand. It's hard to keep up with the logic of certain groups. It really is. Perhaps I should move away from the word logic. So I'm going to answer the question, guys. We're going to talk about nice guys. We're going to talk about being a nice guy and is being nice a turn off to women. And frankly, we'll just kind of cut to the chase. The short answer is yes. But we need to talk about what this actually means. Why guys are nice and this nice guy syndrome. If you're not familiar with Dr. Robert Glover and his book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, it was published I think close to 20 years ago, and or about 20 years ago, and it was a good book about the nice guy syndrome. Dr. Glover was really involved in the manosphere and men's work for a while, and he's not really involved, or he's not really active in it anymore. I haven't really heard anything from him in a long time. Met him in person once. Nice guy, but he wrote a book on nice guy syndrome. It was pretty astute, pretty spot on. And, when I say nice guys, right, it's both, frankly, it's both a compliment and an insult. In some ways, nice guys are some of the really most generous and genuine, caring people you'll meet. And in other ways, they are really, really frustrating. I get frustrated with nice guys when it comes to their relationships and their approaches to women in relationships. That's where I get frustrated with them. I had a friend years ago who's a total nice guy, and as a friend, as a guy-to-guy friend, awesome guy, great friend, good human. And one day he says to me, like, we're hanging out like at a bar or something downtown, which is not really my thing, but whatever. And he goes, I was reading a book, or maybe he was listening to a podcast or something, and he said they recommend that you go to the people that you trust the most to give you feedback on and to have them tell you honestly what you hate the most about me, right? And he goes, so he looks at me and he goes, Scott, tell me honestly, what do you hate the most about me, right? And because one friend told him that they hated his hair, that his hair he has this crazy hair situation. And I was like, you want me to be honest? And he's like, yes, totally. And I go, I can't stand how you let women walk all over you. It bugs the shit out of me, dude. And he looked at me like, oh, like he did not see that coming. And so nice guys are really, really good guys, but maybe women, there aren't a lot of women that wouldn't necessarily know this because they notice a lot of problematic things with their behavior. See, nice guys do this thing with women where instead of trying to be genuine or authentic with women, they instead almost like socially engineer this persona of something that will please women. And ladies, you know what I'm talking about. I know there's a lot of great women out there. Chime in, please. Give us your feedback. Am I right? Am I right that when guys are like overly nice, there's something about them, right? Don't they give you the heebie-jeebies? Like honestly, tell the truth. Do they give you the heebie-jeebies? Because the truth is, yes, is because nice guys, unfortunately, are too wrapped up in ulterior motives. Dr. Glover talked about this in his book. He called it a covert contract, which just basically means that when a guy is being nice to you and he's doing things for you and he's buying things for you and taking you to dinner and doing your chores and doing your dishes and taking out your garbage, whatever the case may be, he has an ulterior motive. there's something that in his mind he's thinking, if I do this for you, if I do this thing for you, I expect you to do certain things back. And he won't tell you, he won't verbalize those things because he's ashamed of expressing his wants and his needs, or being forthright or forthcoming about who he is or what he really wants, right? And unfortunately, the problem is they fall into the line of thinking that if I'm authentic, if I'm really genuine, authentic, transparent about who I am as a human being, she will not like me. She will reject me and she will abandon me. So and they get conditioned this way, man, and they do it reflexively, right? It's habitual. It is a habitual behavior for them to create this, fabricate and engineer this nice people-pleasing version of themselves, so that you will like them, because again they've been conditioned to believe, and again conditioning is just clinical jargon for brainwashing, or just being domesticated, right, into believing this nonsense that if you see them for who they really were, you will not love them, when in fact I'm in the camp that being authentic and genuine is often more attractive, at least to the right people. The right people will find that part of you to actually be attractive. Guys, if you be yourself and like really true to yourself, whether it's rough or raw or you have a lot of rough edges, everybody does. And she's like, oh, well, I didn't know you had these rough edges. I'm out of here. Well, she's probably not the right person for you anyways. Sadly, yeah, I think there are a lot of women out there that probably have a lot of misguided ideas about what's realistic, of what's actually going on with us psychologically. And I think there are women who expect us to just saw off those rough edges and sand them down, and so that we are pleasing and not come with any weird or crazy or bad surprises, when most humans do come with these surprises. In a future video, I'll probably talk about shadow work. Shadow work is really important, but it's really abstract. It's kind of complicated stuff. It's important to do a deep dive into shadow work and understand like the inner workings of the psyche, or the parts of you, the parts of your psyche that are hidden away that you can't necessarily see. These are really, really important things. And so, frankly, guys, if you are engineering and fabricating this version of you that's overly nice and overly pleasing to people, you're likely to attract and get involved with and get into relationships with not great women. That's not to say it doesn't happen. That doesn't mean that it can't happen. That's not to say that, in fact, I know, I can think of nice guys that have been in quality relationships for sure. But frankly, I've noticed that she is often frustrated with him. Like, she's frustrated. Like, she doesn't understand him. She doesn't know what's going on with him. He just like this projection of please like me version of himself. And that's most of who she gets most of the time. She tries to like take a peek behind the curtain, and he's like, oh, no. Right. And guys, if you are that afraid to show your real self, you may not be relationship ready. You may really need to work on yourself. And really there's a process of learning to like yourself. Okay. And so is being nice, being overly nice, a turnoff to women? Well, I think it can be a turnoff to most people, right? Like, have you ever known someone who was like desperate or needy for approval from you? Like, would do anything for your approval? Like, it's actually kind of repulsive. And there's something about us innately as humans, that behavior causes our skin to crawl. It just does. And so being overly nice, yeah, I think it's a turn off to most people. I think people feel a level of mistrust for you. Like, what are you hiding? What is your real motivation here going? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, being overly nice is kind of a turnoff to women. Now, I've also seen this with guys where they use this as a point of resentment, where it's like, oh, nice guys always lose, and poor me. And, I guess you can do that. It's not going to be useful. It's not going to help you. I realize that resentment and that anger and that hurt can keep you feeling kind of emotionally safe. And sometimes we need that in certain doses because that's how we cope. That's how we get through it sometimes, right? Because really, like, as boys, we get taught that we need the female approval. We get taught this by our moms. Dr. Glover talks about this in his book too, that this is just a certain type of conditioning that we get put into us from having moms. And that's just how it goes, guys. And so the truth is, if you have a tendency to, skip around through bad relationships and they're not fulfilling, and you always feel like you have to cough up and fabricate and engineer some overly nice version of yourself so people will be satisfied with you, well, then maybe you have some work to do. Maybe you shouldn't be in a relationship. And so that leads me to bring up the point that I have actually launched a new podcast. I decided I call it Healing Our Masculinity. Sorry about that. My business line started ringing through my computer, and I'm not starting over. Whatever. I'm not a video editor, so it's not going to be too disruptive. Go check out my podcast, Healing Our Masculinity. It's up on Spotify, and go give it a listen. I'm doing long versions of this. If you're new to my channel here on YouTube, please think about subscribing, man. I'm getting so close to being able to monetize this whole freaking deal. And what I'd like to do is some super chats and some live streams and stuff like that for those of you, for the crowd that is here for the high conflict divorce and custody. Ideally, I would love to be doing one live stream super chat per week, and we'll give all of you an opportunity to ask questions and just be part of a discussion online and all of that. So please consider subscribing and share the video, like the video, help me get out there, man, because I'm getting so close to being able to monetize this after so many years. It's been a slog. Let me tell you, it's been a slog. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one.